What's up guys, welcome back to Pat Outdoors. Today we're going to be working on my Yozma IN10. I've been getting a lot of questions and requests about this bike, mostly regarding modifications, so that's exactly what we're going to be jumping into today. I just want to start off with a quick disclaimer. I am not a professional by any means. I'm just some random guy on YouTube sharing my projects with you guys, and a lot of these things that I'm about to do may or may not void your warranty, so proceed with caution. We're going to start off by tuning the stock Fardriver controller to get as much power and speed out of this bike, while still utilizing the original 48-volt battery that came with it. To gain access to the Fardriver controller harness, we have to remove this plastic cover that goes around it. We just need to remove the four 3mm Allen bolts. Removing the cover gives you access to this 4-pin connector, which is what we're going to be using to connect to a Fardriver Bluetooth dongle. I think I got this off of Amazon for like 30 bucks. It allows us to connect to the controller using the Fardriver app so we can change some settings. You know what, while we're here, we might as well disconnect the brake sensors. I believe it's going to be these two connectors with the black and red wires. I'm just not a huge fan of how it feels when it fully cuts off power. Whenever I engage the brakes, it just feels a little bit unnatural. Obviously, if you like having that feature, keep yours on. I'm going to open up the Fardriver app and key on. Wait for it to connect. Okay, it seems like it connected. WC48V70A. So that should be this controller. You know it's connected when there's a red dot on the back of the Bluetooth dongle. Now let's go into the settings. Paras, Open Pro NBLE, which is the advanced settings. Before we make any changes, this is what the stock tune looks like. Seems like they already have some field weakening in place. Okay, back to the top. We're going to make some changes, starting with the max speed. I'm going to change that from 3,700 to 9,000. We'll never reach that. Throttle acceleration step, I'm going to change that from 224 to 220. Throttle decel, I'm going to change that from 128 to 224. Throttle low, I'm going to change that from 1.1 to 0.95. Max line current's already set at 60 amps, which is already the max output of the stock battery, so we're not going to change that. This controller is capable of doing 70 amps, so if you did upgrade the battery, you could turn it up a little bit more, which we might do once we put the Surround 60-volt battery in here. Comment below if you think I should actually do that. I already have a spare Surround battery here anyway, so we're going to go down to ratios and speed, and we're going to change everything from 500 to 5500 to 100%. Then I'm going to start ramping it down in 5% increments, all the way down to 80%. 95%, 90%, 85%. I'm going to keep it at 85% at 7,500. And then I'm just going to keep everything else at 80%. And save. Okay, so limit speed is already set to 7,000 RPM. Low voltage protection, I'm going to change that from 40 volts to 38 volts. And AN12, I'm going to change that to 0. Then we're going to start off with these settings and see how it does. We can't actually use the bike with the Bluetooth connector on. You get this E10 error on the display. So we're going to key off and remove the Bluetooth dongle and then give the bike a try. I couldn't find anything that'll let me get rid of PAS0. I might just get a whole controller in the near future anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. All right, let's give this a shot on mode 3. All right, that is a lot faster than the 40 miles per hour that it was originally displaying. Now keep in mind it does not have load on it when it's showing 57 miles per hour, but we will test it out later on to see how fast we can actually go with a 180-pound adult rider. If you are interested in getting yourself a Bluetooth dongle for your Fardriver controller on your Yozma IN10, or Valtenzo EM5. I'll leave a link in the description for all the parts that we're using for today's project. Next, we're going to confirm whether or not we can fit a set of Supermoto wheels and tires from Ride or Die, which were originally fitted for the Tudio on this bike. The wheels and tires seem very similar as far as dimensions to the stock Tudio wheels, but it appears that there's some slight differences as far as wheel spacing between the hubs and the swing arms and the forks. Let's start off by taking off the wheels from the Tudio to get a closer look at the wheel spacers. So the Ride or Die Supermotos come with these inserts that go into the wheel bearings. They convert these wheels that are originally designed for a 15mm axle to use a 12mm axle, like the ones on the Tudio or the Yozma IN10. They also come with a set of wheel spacers. The longer one's supposed to be for the brake rotor side, the shorter one's for the other. Though I'm not sure if these are going to fit the Yozma IN10. So you can see the spacers on this bike are significantly wider than the ones that came with the Supermotos. So let's see which ones we have to use. Looks like the spacers that come with the Ride or Die Supermotos work perfectly. I didn't bother swapping over the brake rotor because they're actually identical. But here's a closer look at the spacing on both sides. Now you might be wondering why my rear wheel on the Tudio has a black sprocket on it. I actually stepped down from a 60 to a 53 tooth rear sprocket. I'm just experimenting with gearing to see what kind of top speed I get with this bike, since the Tudio is about to get a Amorge 72 volt, 200 something amp output battery in the next few weeks. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel if you want to see more of that. And it's the same thing for the rear wheel. It's got the 15mm to 12mm adapters inside the bearings. On the Tudio, we were reusing the original spacer on the right side, and then the two spacers that were provided by Ride or Die on the left side. Though I'm thinking that this might be too wide on this bike, but we'll see how it fits. Dang, that is on there. They really cranked down on that straight from the factory. So this is the spacer on the Yozma on the right side, and then this is the spacer on the Tudio. As you can see, the one on the Tudio is significantly wider than the new bike. I'm going to use the original spacer from the Yozma because I don't want to change the spacing between the rotor and the caliper. All right, I think I got it figured out as far as which spacers we need to use. On the left side, on the Tudio, I ended up using the two spacers that were provided by Ride or Die. But on these new bikes, the spacing actually looks right with the original Yozma spacer in place. Obviously, you're gonna see a lot of chain slack since we went to the smaller rear sprocket. So I might have to take out two links to make the 53 tooth sprocket work with this bike. Actually, I'm gonna see how far these adjustment bolts go back. Can't believe how long those are. Slack seems to be about just right. Got both sides adjusted evenly so the rear wheel is tracking straight. Now I'm just gonna lock the adjustment bolts. That is actually crazy. It seems like these wheels fit the Yozma IN10 better than they did the Tudio. And I didn't even have to take out any links to shorten the chain for the smaller sprocket, so things really just worked out. If you are interested in getting yourself a set of these Supermoto wheels from Ride or Die, you can actually get yourself 5% off by using discount code PATOutdoors. Yo, You cannot tell me that this does not look good. The Supermoto wheels look like they really belong on this bike. I think the gloss black finish on the mag wheels really complete the look. So there is a little bit of a tight clearance on the right side fork guard. The swing arm area has plenty of room all around. Chain alignment's perfectly straight. There's about a 1/4 inch gap between the chain and the rear tire. Yozma, if you are watching this, please offer this as an option straight out of the factory, because I got a feeling that a lot of people are gonna want this look, especially for those that ride mostly on the street and don't care to have dirt tires for daily use. Seems like it actually got a little bit quieter with that sprocket. All right, let's see how fast this thing goes with the new tune and Supermoto wheels. This thing rides really smooth with the Supermoto wheel set. So I'm not sure how it's going to do on the grass. Seems like it does fine. Probably wouldn't do too well if it was wet though.
Yo.
What's up, man?
Yo, what's up?
What is that, an e-box? Oh, okay, that's cool.
E-box with what? 72-volt battery and
electronic.
And then this is completely stock?
Yeah, I got it like 2 days ago.
Were you one of the guys that had like a moto tech?
yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. Dang, so everybody's gonna have a triple X soon.
Yeah, it's like the new bike that everyone's getting. Mine is towards back home.
What's up, man?
Do you remember me?
Yeah, I think you were over at my house like 2 months ago, right?
Oh yeah.
Good, man.
How fast that thing go?
I'm still testing it out, but I just tuned it today and threw the wheels on like 30 minutes ago, so just wanted to see how fast it goes. One thing to note with running a smaller rear sprocket is you do lose a little bit of low-end torque, but as you can see, the speedometer display now reads accurately with the GPS. There it is, guys. New top speed is 42 miles per hour with the stock 48-volt battery. All it needed was a tune. Just for some perspective, this bike goes 34 miles per hour with a 180-pound adult rider on there, which I went over on my initial ride review video that I posted yesterday if you want to check that out. The current limiting factor of this bike is currently the stock 48-volt battery, which has a 60 amp max output. I'm tempted to cram this Suron battery in there somehow, which may involve me cutting a small portion of the seat and the plastic cover to make it fit. I know the BMS on that battery has a max output of around 85-90 amps, which gives us room to turn up the stock controller to its max capability. I kind of want to see what kind of torque and overall speed we get with that setup before we consider purchasing like a Fardriver ND72-300 to replace that with, because I really do got to slow down on modifying e-bikes. My wife and I are actually having our first child within the next few months, so I just have to be a little bit more mindful with the budget and not buy expensive modifications for my brand new bikes within a few days of unboxing them. Man, I really like how this bike rides and looks so much that I ended up getting myself the same exact Supermoto wheels and tires as a replacement set for the 2DO, because these wheels are not coming off this bike. Let me know what else you guys would like to see next on the Yozma IN10. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you like this kind of content, want to keep up with this bike or any of my other projects, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn your bell notification on. But this is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching.